A random comedian fear-mongers Xbox. Hideki Kamiya from Platinum Games still is open to working with Xbox, and Phil Spencer wouldn't take no when it came to Xbox Game Pass. Welcome back to another video, guys. If you enjoy daily content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. All right, so on the weekend, this guy here, Adam Conover, who I've absolutely never heard of before, literally everybody on my Twitter feed was quote tweeting him and calling out this video in terms of what he was talking about. I saw it so many times I actually got annoyed and tweeted out if it was mandatory that you had to quote tweet it and make a comment on it. And I just kept going through my feed. It was nonstop, and I just kept skipping through the video because I didn't really feel like watching it. And then eventually I'm like, okay, everyone's talking about it. I gotta jump in to see what he's saying. And I listened to it and I understood why this video got so much traction. Basically, Adam Conover here is creating a fear-mongering video saying that Xbox, Microsoft are going to undercut and monopolize the entire industry with the purchase of Activision Blizzard because they have such a massive cash advantage, and Sony essentially is screwed. And it doesn't make sense if you just sit back, look at the numbers logically, and see what is going on. All of the things we have heard since, I guess, the inception of Xbox Game Pass. The only way it makes sense is if all of those things realize. So first of all, I mean, 25 million subscribers right now, $10 a month. You're making billions of dollars every year. The service is going to grow continuously. I mean, we've seen that throughout the months, how every time there is a report of a number, it went from like 18 million to 25 million. And when they continuously are releasing great content on that service, think about when Starfield comes out, how much service is going to grow. That billions of dollars and the amount of money they're going to be making from Xbox Game Pass is going to continue to go up. We've heard many different statistics about how people play more because of Xbox Game Pass. 20% more genres, 20% more games, and how companies are still able to sell their games and actually sell more copies of their games because it was discovered on Xbox Game Pass. We see the numbers of things like the amount of money that Xbox is not only making from Game Pass, but also making money from people jumping in and buying their games day one on Steam or even on Xbox for that matter. Games like Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite sold tons of copies on the same day that they released day one into Xbox Game Pass. So do you think Xbox is going to be operating at a loss in order to undercut the industry, and they're going to be able to continuously subsidize this to just kind of monopolize everything and then push Sony out of the market? Is absurd to think about. Xbox would not be running this right now if they were burning through tons and tons of cash. Like, Xbox almost wasn't around anymore until Phil Spencer turned it around. They may have just completely gone away with the gaming division. They didn't need the gaming division. Microsoft didn't need Xbox before Xbox came in, and then when it started not doing well with the Xbox One, they could have gotten rid of it and still been a massive company. And just in general, when it comes to Xbox making money on Game Pass, we've seen Phil Spencer mention this, we've seen Aaron Greenberg mention it, in the fact that, yeah, they're not making a huge amount of profit right now, but they are still making profit. So here is what Phil Spencer said about this. Yeah, I mean, you could do the math on Game Pass. I guess you don't know how many subscribers or how much each subscriber is paying, but you can make some fairly informed decisions and literally just do the math on what we think Game Pass could eventually be. You could do that on any part of the business, but absolutely Game Pass is sustainable. So right there, he implies that a Game Pass is making a profit at least a little bit right now, and that's going to continue to grow. They're going to be making more profit eventually once they continue to increase the amount of subscribers. I'm sure at Xbox and Microsoft, they have a subscriber number. That's their goal, where they start seeing the amount of profit that they want to see. We've seen Satya Nadella come out, talk about how he's all in on gaming. And he is a guy that, I mean, if Xbox Game Pass wasn't something that was working, if they were burning through cash, I don't think he'd be all in on it. I don't think there would be as much positivity. I don't think Phil Spencer would get the green light to continuously go out and spend billions of dollars on a company like Activision Blizzard. Now, the next part about this is the whole monopoly thing now that everyone keeps talking about with Xbox owning Activision Blizzard, which is the furthest thing from the truth. When you think of things like Embracer Group, you think of companies like Tencent. And then you see this picture here that's been circulating around Twitter since the Activision Blizzard Blizzard deal, and it gives you a visual representation of how this pie is split up right now. And by far the Embracer Group right there from here is the biggest one. Microsoft's just a small piece of this entire pie, of this fragmented industry that is not even anywhere close to being a monopoly when it comes to Xbox Game Studios and Microsoft. And then there's that all of the fear mongering that people have when it comes to Sony. I don't understand it at all, in the sense that Sony, first of all, is going to be completely fine. They were definitely late to the party when it came to kind of moving to the future of the video game industry with the subscription service stuff, in the same way that Xbox Game Pass is. Yes, they have PS Now, but that was still making them money. I think there's a couple million subscribers on there, but it was nothing revolutionary that everyone was always talking about. Is nothing anywhere close to what Xbox Game Pass was. And now Sony is seeing this. We saw Jim Ryan come out and talk about going beyond console, and he is admitting that the Xbox Game Pass strategy is the correct strategy going forward to continue to be a top dog within the industry. And Sony has some of the best IPs out there, some of the most beloved IPs in video games, like God of War, Horizon, Ratchet and Clank, Gran Turismo 7 that's just around the corner. Like, they have some of the most iconic IPs for a lot of people. And if you think that people are just going to stop buying these games even if they were put out onto a service, I think that's a really misleading claim to put out there, especially with the facts that we have right now with Xbox Game Pass and people still buying games even if they're on the service. There's just this weird thing going around on the internet these days, because Microsoft and Xbox are back, they're back strong, and they're really competing within gaming, which they weren't during the Xbox One era. You're seeing a lot of people kind of getting scared and having meltdowns almost that Sony isn't the golden boy right now in video games. In my opinion, it is Xbox with their consumer friendliness. Yes, PlayStation still has some of the best IPs, best games, highest quality games around. Don't get me wrong. Like, I enjoy what they do, what they bring to the industry. They're not my favorite styles of games, all the ones that they make, but I really like what they bring to video games. But Xbox is transforming the industry in a way that, as a gamer, as a consumer, we're all going to benefit for the better, especially that we know Project Spartacus is coming out from PlayStation. And I talked about this on my podcast, if you want to listen to it, yesterday. And it doesn't matter that PlayStation is following Xbox. I mean, Xbox has always innovated, I think, since they've entered the industry. The original Xbox with Xbox Live, the hard drives and stuff like that, Xbox 360 with the parties, the friends lists, the achievements. You have the Xbox Series and the backwards compatibility, the cross-generational, the cross-platform, and now Xbox Game Pass. They were always the first ones in there, and everybody else followed. And it's okay that everyone else is copying it from a consumer's point of view, because we are going to get the best of every world now, because Xbox innovated. PlayStation is going to do the same, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see what they have in mind when it comes to Project Spartacus. And if you think that Sony can't sell Project Spartacus for $10 a month and survive, it's absurd. Just think about the amount of consoles out there right now from PlayStation. Even just think about like the PS4s. There's like over 100 million PS4s. They're not going to leave those behind when it comes to subscription. Imagine 10%, 15% subscribe to whatever new service they come out with. It's billions of dollars they're going to be making every single year. So this notion that PlayStation can't survive with a subscription service, I believe, is completely wrong and completely false. And there's just a lot of weird fear-mongering going on now with Xbox looking like they are going to be the front runner going forward if they continue along this path and the other companies don't adjust. I mean, that's just the way I see it. But like I said on my podcast as well, PlayStation adjusts properly and they come out and they give us a consumer-friendly service with as much value as Xbox Game Pass, they're going to be absolutely completely fine. And they may always still be on top. We'll have to wait and see, because Xbox has a ton of IPs, and once they'll start rolling out on a 3 to 4 month basis, I mean, that's going to be a juggernaut to deal with all the Bethesda and the Activision Blizzard IPs. So it's just a great time for gamers. I don't understand all the fear-mongering going on here right now. We've never had access to as many games for as low of a price in our entire life, but people are still complaining. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, jumping over here to something that was also found on Twitter over the weekend, and it was pretty interesting, and it comes from Hideki Kamiya. And the fact that it sounds like he could still be interested in still wanting to work with Xbox. Now, this was a picture that he tweeted out. He received, I guess, some flowers or something from Phil Spencer. And you can see it here. Here's the picture. And it says, "Thanks, Phil. Let's work together again." And then here's the actual pictures of the flowers. And he specifically went down here and zoomed in on the Phil Spencer one. Now, I mean, overall, this is interesting because I would love to see this happen. I do like Platinum Games. They've made some really cool ones. Like Bayonetta is one of my favorite games. Vanquish was a cool game. So they have some gems in there, and they've made a bunch of other ones that I'm sure people love. And Scalebound seemed like it was going to be one of the most promising things coming to Xbox One last generation, and we all know what happened with that. And I believe Platinum Games actually kind of admitted that it was more their fault than it was Xbox's fault as to why that project fell apart. In fact, here's actually what he says. He says, "We weren't experienced enough and couldn't get over that wall, leading to what happened in the end. I'm sorry to Microsoft, who had placed their trust in us as a business partner." So right there, admitting that, hey, they messed up. And now seeing this, kind of a shout out to Phil Spencer saying, "Let's work together again." I mean, I would love to see it. I don't know about you guys. My number one thing would be, hey, bring Scalebound back. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be the number one thing I want. And just very cool here that he specifically calls out Phil Spencer and asks to work together. So we'll see what happens in the future. You never know. Like, this could be something that maybe sparks the conversation. Maybe a game that they are currently working on, Xbox tries to get it into Xbox Game Pass. Would love to see all this happen. And then finally here, we got some information from the Wall Street Journal. So they did a report on Microsoft's new gaming CEO, Phil Spencer, and talked about Game Pass and how it all came together. And it says here, "In meetings, Mr. Spencer's staff would present arguments for why Game Pass wouldn't work, publishers wouldn't participate, or it would eat into profits. Phil Spencer wouldn't take no for an answer." And thank God for that, because we have the best thing I think ever to happen right now to video games, just for so many reasons. The value you get with Game Pass, the amount of access you get to different types of games you would have never played. You can play these games anywhere, and just opens up gaming to way more people than would have if it wasn't around. And we're seeing here, in general, publishers want to participate. They get great exposure to their games, and they probably make more money in the long run if people are buying their games after they've played it before it comes off of Game Pass, or they're spending money on microtransactions. It looks like so far, even though Adam Conover thinks it isn't eating into profits. In fact, it is currently profitable and will continue to just grow and grow and grow. And if Phil Spencer would have said no, would have bowed down, we wouldn't be here right now. Who knows what would have happened to Xbox? Xbox may be gone. We may not have the brand anymore. And he really saved Xbox. He turned it around. It's all because of the persistence. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about Adam's comments on Xbox Game Pass. Do you want Xbox to work with Platinum Games again? And what do you think about Phil Spencer not taking no for an answer? Thank you guys all for watching. Thank you for your support. If you're new here, you like what you saw, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.